For centuries, wolves have been cast as villains. The big bad wolf, a ruthless alpha ruling through fear, a predator lurking in the darkness, waiting for its next victim. Entire generations grew up believing that wolves were savage killers. But what if almost everything we've been taught about wolves was wrong? What if the creature we feared for hundreds of years was never the real wolf at all? The wolf. We thought we knew from fairy tales to modern movies. Wolves have long been symbols of danger. In Little Red Riding Hood, they were deceptive monsters hiding behind friendly faces. In The Three Little Pigs, they were relentless predators determined to destroy everything in their path. Even today, the word wolf often brings to mind violence, aggression, and fear. But perhaps no idea shaped our perception of wolves more than the concept of the alpha wolf. The image is familiar: a dominant male fighting his way to the top, ruling the pack through intimidation and brute force. The strongest survive, the weakest obey. For decades, even scientists believed this was true. The idea became so popular that it spread far beyond the animal kingdom. Books were written about it. Television shows reinforced it. People even began applying alpha behavior to human society. But there was one major problem. The wolves that formed the basis of those early studies weren't wild wolves at all. They were unrelated individuals, forced to live together in captivity. When researchers later observed wolves in their natural environment, they discovered something entirely different. Most wolf packs weren't gangs competing for power. They were families, a mother, a father, and their offspring from previous years. The so-called alpha pair were usually just parents, not tyrants, not dictators, simply experienced adults guiding the survival of their young. And perhaps even more surprising, despite centuries of fear surrounding wolves, fatal attacks on humans remain extraordinarily rare. In North America, only 2 fatal wolf attacks have been documented during the 21st century. The terrifying monster of our imagination was beginning to fade, and in its place, a far more complicated picture began to emerge. If wolves aren't ruthless tyrants, then who are they? The answer begins in silence, hidden inside dens carved into hillsides or sheltered beneath tree roots. Wolf pups enter the world in complete vulnerability. They are born blind, deaf, unable to regulate their own body temperature, entirely dependent on those around them. For a brief period, their eyes are an unexpected shade of blue. It's difficult to reconcile this image with the fearsome predator of legend. These tiny creatures cannot hunt, cannot defend themselves, cannot survive alone. And yet, they rarely have to. Because in the world of wolves, raising young is a shared responsibility. The mother remains close to the den. The father provides food and protection. Older siblings often take on the role of babysitters, watching over the pups while adults are away. Food brought back from hunts is shared among the entire family. Every member contributes. Every member matters. Even the bond between the breeding pair is remarkable. Unlike many animals whose relationships last only long enough to reproduce, wolves often form long-term pair bonds. After mating, many remain together for life. They hunt together, travel together, raise generations of offspring side by side. Through harsh winters, territorial conflicts, and the constant challenges of survival. Slowly, our understanding begins to shift. Perhaps wolf packs aren't ruthless organizations built on fear. Perhaps they resemble something much more familiar, a family doing everything it can to survive. But understanding wolves doesn't mean romanticizing them, because wolves are still extraordinary predators. Every day is a challenge. Food isn't guaranteed. Failure can mean starvation, and survival depends on making the right decisions, again and again. To do that, wolves have evolved into some of nature's most efficient hunters. A single wolf pack may travel more than 50 kilometers in a single day, crossing dense forests, frozen valleys, steep mountain ranges, always searching, always listening, always calculating. Unlike ambush predators that rely on a sudden burst of speed, wolves are endurance hunters. They wear their prey down, testing for weakness, waiting for opportunity. And when the moment finally comes, they don't hunt as individuals. They hunt as a team. Each wolf has a role to play. Some initiate the chase. Others position themselves along possible escape routes. More experienced members may flank the prey, cutting off its path. It isn't chaos, it's coordination. A strategy refined through countless generations. Their prey is often much larger than themselves. Elk, caribou, moose, even bison. Animals powerful enough to kill a wolf with a single kick. Yet through cooperation, wolves succeed where many predators would fail, and they have the physical tools to match their intelligence. A wolf can reach speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour. Its jaws are powerful enough to crush bone. And after a successful hunt, a single adult wolf may consume nearly 9 kilograms of meat in one sitting. Because in the wilderness, no one knows when the next meal will come. But perhaps one of the most misunderstood behaviors of wolves is also their most iconic, the howl. Popular culture has taught us to imagine wolves standing beneath a full moon, crying out to the night sky. But wolves don't howl at the moon. The moon simply happens to be there. Wolves howl to communicate, to reunite separated pack members, to reinforce social bonds, to defend territory from rival packs, and sometimes to guide one another home. The sound that humans once interpreted as something eerie and threatening was, in reality, the voice of a family trying to stay together. By now, it becomes increasingly difficult to place wolves into a single category. They are affectionate parents, loyal partners, intelligent strategists, and highly efficient predators. They are not one thing. They are all of these things at once. As apex predators, wolves have few natural enemies. For thousands of years, they occupied one of the highest positions in the food chain. But eventually, they encountered a species far more influential than any predator: humans. Throughout history, wolves were hunted for many reasons: for their fur, for sport, to protect livestock, and because fear had convinced people that the only good wolf was a dead one. Entire populations vanished. In some regions, wolves disappeared completely. At one point, the gray wolf had one of the largest distributions of any land mammal on Earth. But human expansion, combined with habitat destruction and persecution, reduced that range dramatically. Today, wolves have lost nearly 1/3 of their historical habitat. Ironically, the species that had survived ice ages, famine, and competition from other predators struggled to survive humanity's misunderstanding. Yet despite centuries of fear, wolves rarely attack people. In most cases, they avoid us whenever possible. The danger we imagined never truly reflected reality. But the consequences of removing wolves from the landscape were very real. Because predators don't simply take lives, they shape ecosystems. And nowhere was this lesson more dramatic than in Yellowstone National Park. For much of the 20th century, wolves had disappeared from Yellowstone National Park. At first, it didn't seem like a problem. After all, without wolves, the park should have been safer, calmer, more peaceful. But nature doesn't work that way. Without wolves, elk populations grew rapidly, freed from one of their only natural predators. They spent more time grazing in valleys and along riverbanks. Young willow trees were eaten before they had a chance to mature. Aspens struggled to regenerate. Entire sections of vegetation began to disappear. And slowly, the landscape itself started to change. The absence of a single predator had begun to reshape an entire ecosystem. Then, in 1995, something remarkable happened. Wolves returned to Yellowstone. At first, only a handful, but their impact reached far beyond their numbers. Elk populations stabilized, and perhaps even more importantly, their behavior changed. They no longer lingered for extended periods in vulnerable areas. Vegetation along riverbanks had a chance to recover. Willows grew taller. Aspens returned. Beavers found the materials they needed to build dams. Those dams created habitats for fish, amphibians, and countless other species. Bird populations increased. Biodiversity flourished. Scientists call these cascading effects, a chain reaction set into motion by the presence of a top predator. The wolves weren't controlling nature. They were participating in it, helping maintain a balance that had evolved over thousands of years. For centuries, we told stories about wolves, stories of monsters lurking in the woods, stories of ruthless alphas driven by violence, stories designed to make us afraid. But the real wolf is far more complex. A devoted parent, a loyal partner, a skilled hunter, a guardian of ecological balance. Perhaps wolves were never the villains of the story. Perhaps they were simply trying to survive in a world that had already decided what they were. And maybe the greatest mystery of all is not why wolves howl into the night, but why it took us so long to finally listen. Nature is filled with stories that challenge everything we think we know, and this is only one of them. If you're curious about the hidden lives of Earth's most fascinating creatures, join us on the next journey, because the deeper we look into nature's mysteries, the more extraordinary they become. This is Mysteries of Nature, and we'll see you in the next mystery.